Hi, in this presentation, I'm going to give you examples of all the things we talked about in part one of this developing the research question presentation. So I have a screenshot from an article in the Journal of Athletic Training by BARBER, FOSS et al. And this is the abstract from the article. And so there is the objective, or in which is also known, we'll call it the purpose statement. So the objective is to determine the effects of blah blah blah. And you can read that on your own. I'm going to provide this article in class, so you have the article too. So that's the objective, straight from the abstract from the journal article. Now, later in the paper, on page 21 of the journal, the authors provide us the purpose statement, which is typically always done towards the end of the introduction. And it says, therefore, the purpose of our study was to conduct, ding, 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 ding. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. So that's provided in the journal article, both in the abstract and in the actual article. So here is the purpose statement example. Again, I cited it following APA, the purpose statement. So that's the purpose statement. Now, from the purpose statement, I can develop a research question. So basically, how I do a research question, I take parts of the purpose statement. So I took all the parts of the research question. It says the purpose of the study was to conduct now this stuff about the design, the randomized controlled clinical trial. I don't use in the research question. I get to the heart of it. What's the heart of this research, or this purpose statement? It's to evaluate the effects of a school-based neuromuscular training program. So when we ask our research questions, what were the effects of a school-based, and I just copied and pasted the research question. I quoted it because I don't want to plagiarize. So what were the effects of this thing that we're asking here? And I cited it, and I have a question at the end because it's a research question. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the hypothesis. The reason why I'm showing you all this is because you're going to do an assignment like this. So we have a research question. So a research question, or sorry, research hypothesis. A research hypothesis is what the researcher expects to happen. And so here, again, I'm using the material straight from that purpose statement from the article. There were differences in the effects of the school-based neuromuscular training program on a school-based blah blah blah. So there were changes. That's what what's their guess. Their guess is that there's going to be a change. There are going to be differences because of this. Whereas the null hypothesis says there are no changes. There are no differences will happen. Statistically speaking, we use the null hypothesis because we'll get into that in another time, but we're saying that there is no change between the independent variable did not change the dependent variable at all. So all you have to do to change it to a null hypothesis is add the word no. So there were differences and there are no differences. So these are hypothesis examples. So let's go ahead and identify the independent variable, dependent variable, target population, and the definitions. Oh, I forgot the title. I forgot to put that up there. So a possible title for this article, just based on the abstract, even though I have the article and you have the article too, I changed it to, here's what I would guess the title would be based on the purpose statement. School-based neuromuscular training program and sport-related injury incidents in high school and high school and middle age, school age children. Sorry, dyslexia. So based on the purpose statement, the independent variable is school-based neuromuscular training program. Now, if I had us go and look at the actual abstract, we can get a little bit more information about the independent variable. But just based on the purpose statement, I can tell that the independent variable was this. Now, how do I know that? Okay, I'm going to go back, sorry. So typically when we write a purpose statement, we always put the independent variable first and then the dependent variable. So to evaluate the effects and the school-based neuromuscular training, that is what's being manipulated. Especially if we read an article, we can see when we read the article or even the abstract that the researcher is manipulating this school-based neuromuscular training program. Again, generally speaking, the purpose statement will have the independent variable, then the dependent variable, and then the target population. So let's go back here. So we have our independent variable. Our dependent variable is the sport-related injury incident, because that's what they're measuring, is they want to see if the training program that they did is reducing sport-related injuries. The target population is 3 different sports at the high school and middle school levels. And some of the things that we need to define are school-based neuromuscular training program. What the heck is that? What is sport-related incident? What do they mean by that? What are the 3 different sports? What do they mean by high school and middle school level of athletics? Well, how old are those kids? And how many of them are? So that's the thing we need to define. Our next thing is assumptions. Here's some things that we could assume about this study just from reading that purpose statement. We are assuming that all participants performed to the best of their ability, and we're assuming that the school-based neuromuscular training program could reduce sports-related injury incidents in middle and high school age participants. Some assumptions we're making. Some possible limitations for this study. The participants did not perform their best in all exercise sessions, and the participants missed exercise sessions. These are some things that can limit the study. And maybe the participants matured during the study. I mean, middle school and high school kids do age, especially depending on the length of that particular study. And here are some following delimitations for the study. Again, delimitations are the things that we make decisions on who are in the study and what we are using in the study. So only middle-aged and high school-aged athletes participated in the study, and only school-age neuromuscular training program were used in this study. So that's some limitations. That's the things. There's more than this, but that's some couple limitations and delimitations. So hopefully, based on what we've talked about in the 2 lectures, that you have a good understanding of, based just strictly on a purpose statement, you can identify the title for the article. You can identify a research question, a research and null hypothesis. You can identify the independent variable, dependent variable, target population, some assumptions, some limitations and delimitations from the purpose statement. We'll do this in an assignment this week. So use how I've written things in this presentation to help you understand how to write all this for your assignment.